Let me know when we're live, Trevor.
Apologies, we are live.
Okay. All right. Happy Wednesday to all of you who are joining in live, and welcome to the 12.4 GitLab kickoff call. My name is Scott Williamson. I'm the VP of Product Management at GitLab, and I am pleased to be your MC for the day. We have a number of speakers who are going to cover the various sections here. So first is Jeremy Watson, who will cover the dev section. Jason Lenny will cover CI/CD. Daniel Grusso will cover ops. Sam Kerr will cover secure and defend. And Josh Lambert will cover enablement. For each section, given the quantity of issues here to cover, we're not going to cover each one individually. We will talk about each section thematically and call out some of the highlights. You can also get more detail. If you go into the invitation, there's a kickoff doc, which I'm showing here. You can click into each link, will take you to an issue with more detail. And if you'll notice, many of the stages, like for example, plan, have a kickoff recording that you can access where the product manager or product managers in each section have recorded much deeper detail in that particular area. So lots of ways to go get more background. Without further ado, let's kick off. Jeremy, over to you. You there, Jeremy?
Are you on mute?
Whoa. Hello. All right.
Still not able to hear you, Jeremy.
If you'd like, we can go over to CI/CD and I can kick things off.
Let's do that. Let's move over to Jason.
Right, and Jeremy, can you please mute while you're working on your system? I can hear something strange happening. Okay, so CI/CD. Yeah, a ton of great things that we're delivering in this release that we're really excited to talk about. And first up is a P1 issue that I just wanted to call out here because it is a really important one that we're giving a lot of focus to. And that's in some cases when a job terminates midway using the Kubernetes runner, that it will still be marked as a success. That's our top priority for the runner and what we're focusing on there for this release. So those of you who have reached out, thank you for that. We always appreciate the ping on those issues, and we are taking it seriously and delivering that one. For the testing area, we're adding in the ability to add arbitrary build results to pipelines. So one of the common requests that we get from lots of different users is, can you please support this different file that we use for our pipelines, or can you please support this test output format? And a lot of these aren't super common, so we don't have they won't necessarily get prioritized in the same way that would for just that organization. What we're going to be doing, though, is making it easy to have any artifact that's published as part of your pipelines be linked to in a more prominent way from the pipeline status. So that'll help support all of these different kinds of things in a really, really nice way. Excuse me. Next up is protecting the GitLab CI YAML for changes by developers. We're building on top of the code owners features here and making that just a little bit more controlled, because the GitLab CI YAML is a special file that is integrated into the pipelines. But this will make it so in certain kinds of organizations, when you have a team that's maybe separate from the main development team in the project who does development on the GitLab CI YAML and the deployment infrastructure, those kinds of workflows will now be better supported, and you can be more confident that only that team is making changes to that area. This can also help in certain compliance workflows where you've got very strict requirements about who's able to change what, about how the deployment works. So again, really, really looking forward to that one. It's a feature that's been well requested for a while that's really just nice to deliver. These next two issues on the same single line here both improve the way our CI/CD integration works with when you're using GitHub SCM. One of the options that's available to you is whether you should use static check names. The obvious option, or the obvious way that you want to use this in that scenario, is to have it on. we currently default to it off, and we also don't provide a nice API endpoint for you to do like a bulk update of all of your projects or whatever to change to this new setting. So we're addressing both sides of that. We're going to make it so that it's easy to do the bulk update in a script, and also we're going to set the default right in the first place. Then next up is documenting how to protect manual jobs. So another feature request that we get pretty frequently is having a manual job be set up such that only certain people can approve it. This is actually possible in the product today, but it's really unclear and not necessarily intuitive how to do that. We're going to be documenting that, making it a little bit more clear and easy to set up. If you're interested in that today, you can actually read that issue and see how to get it working in your projects today. But in the future, this will be, easier to find and easier to set up. On release, for the package team, I want to talk a little bit about optimizing the registry garbage collect command. One of the focuses for that whole package area is making it easier to maintain and control the amount of disk space that it's using and the artifacts that are in there, and improving that garbage collect, making it easier to use will be a big win for users of the package functionality. And then finally, the release area is the last one I'll talk about within CI/CD. We're adding an API for feature flags. Feature flags is a new feature that we released a few months back. We've been iterating on it since. Things are stable enough now that we want to deliver the API. So if you want to have any automation in your own system around how feature flags work, you're going to be able to do that. We're also making it possible to associate a feature flag with a specific issue, epic, or MR. So you'll be able to have a bidirectional connection there. From an issue, you can find the feature flags that it introduced, or an MR, you can find the feature flags that it introduced. And you can also, from the feature flag itself, go find the issue and MR for context as to what you're looking at. That's going to be really, really powerful and take advantage of the GitLab single application in a really unique way. And then finally, notifications for releases. This is a simple one, but a nice to have. It's going to be possible with the 12.4 release to go click on that you would like to be alerted whenever a new release comes out for a project that you're interested in. And then you'll get an update whenever that happens. So that's it for CI/CD. Again, super, super excited, and can't wait to get your feedback once these are out.
Thank you, Jason. I believe Jeremy is back in action here. Jeremy, can you take over?
Can you read me?
Yeah, 10-4.
Awesome, thanks a lot. My apologies for the issues earlier. So I'm excited to represent Dev on this kickoff call. And Dev's theme for this release is really about helping instances kind of handle really large and complex work reviews. So we notice as like instances grow, we want to be able to scale with them. We see a need to really make it simple to manage the demands of these complex projects with large merge requests and there's many dependencies. And we really want to have a solution that works for someone that's just managing a simple personal project to like organizations that are working on complex initiatives spanning thousands of projects and developers. So we're talking about some really mature areas of the application. We're just taking kind of what we're good at, establishing further depth, and really making them more and more lovable. So I'm going to dig in with the highlights, starting with manage, and then I'll go and move on to talk about plan and create. So starting at the top there in Access, really focusing in on further improvements to auth for the enterprise. SAML really remains the standard that enterprises are seeking support for, and we're going to continue investment here by extending our SCIM support to include providers like Okta. And then we're also focusing on companies that are operating with security requirements and adding the ability to kind of enforce regular rotation of personal access tokens. So, you'll be able to specify a maximum kind of date, lifetime for a personal access token to require, users to regularly rotate them moving forward. That's what's kind of going on at a high level in Access. Moving over to the analytics group, we're ambitious at GitLab and we're still working on some terrific analytics features, but I'm still really excited about them. And I want to highlight one that's on track for 12.4, which is the customizable stages and cycle analytics. This is really a feature I'm super excited about because we're building on type of cycle analytics, which is a useful feature, and making it truly lovable by responding to customer feedback that cycle analytics was a start, but it wasn't customizable enough for their needs. And here you'll be able to customize your own stages and specify, if you scroll down just a little bit in that issue, a little bit further to the number of Right there under the events, you can see the number of start and stop events that you can actually specify to be able to customize your own stages. And this is really part of our investment into value stream management, and how we kind of envision instances understanding how quickly they're delivering value, and more interestingly, kind of where the bottlenecks are in the process. So you'll be able to see kind of your cycle time composed over like the stages that you just kind of specify and customize. So rolling on back to the next plan, we're looking at the first item kind of that plan is working on is issue list work in progress limits and boards. And I'm really excited about this because this is such a boards are really just a key kind of tool for development teams. And this is really intended to help teams stay focused on finishing work before picking up new work. And for organizations that are using Kanban, which is a process that really depends on limiting work in progress, this is going to be a really critical tool for success, I think. So in GitLab, we use the WIP prefix to kind of designate work in progress. And then using boards, you'll be able to designate a maximum number of issues in a board column. And when that limit is breached, we're going to alert you visually and show that that limit is enforced to kind of serve as a reminder to encourage instances to restrain from putting more and more in progress. It's not yet enforced, but it should be a very helpful tool for organizations. And you can kind of see that general flow kind of in the interactions animation. And I think that the general flow should have a series of screenshots there. That's perfect. So you can see the width limit there being applied and actually reached on the right-hand side of the screen, where you see the column highlighting in red when we've actually reached that limit. So again, this is a visual treatment, and but it serves as a very healthy reminder to restrain and finish the work that you've started. Heading on back to the kickoff doc, I'm also excited about changes to issues and MR descriptions. These are previously untracked and can kind of change without notice, and we're going to start tracking that in issues in MRs to kind of help you stay abreast of what's changed in MR and make those changes really transparent. And I'm also really excited about the roadmap view, which you're showing on the screen right now, which is going to show the weight and the progress information. So one challenge of the roadmap right now is it's hard to understand kind of whether or not these initiatives are on track when you click into them. But here you can clearly see a progress bar that's based off of the cumulative weight of the epic to show you, what, the data is coming up, but we're 75% done with this. It looks like it's on track. Convert, there's a weight that's down until I, as a manager, need to take some corrective action. So this is going to be a great addition to the roadmap. And we're also continuing work into epics, which is really one of our best tools for portfolio level project management, enabling drag and drop in the epic view, enabling you to show descendants in that container that we have in the issue tree, and then also being able to create issues directly from inside the epic instead of having to leave the epic and then copy paste the issue link inside the epic, and then also just automate some of those common tasks associated with epics. Again, focusing on scalability, making sure that these portfolio level type features really excel and shine within the product. So that's all for plans for now. Moving over to create and talking a little bit about merge request dependencies, which is something I think is going to be a great feature. We're extending this. We shipped cross-project dependencies previously, and we're extending this into a comprehensive feature for all projects on an instance, allowing you to establish dependencies wherever an MR lives. And this really, allows you to specify merge requests in the same project that must be merged before a particular merge request is unlocked for merging. So again, managing the complex, instead of accidentally merging like a merge request before, prerequisite merge request is merged and you need to go ahead and revert that, you can actually specify these relationships directly in the merge request and then make sure that you prevent these accidents from happening ahead of time. And last but certainly not least, they're specified in the last two items for creating the kickoff document, that performance improvements. I don't have cool screenshots, but that doesn't make them any less exciting for me. I think that one thing is when merge requests get large, we see that it gets frustrating to wait for the diff to load in one chunk. Since we load that all at once, it frustrates me as a reviewer to wait for that to actually finish loading. And what we're going to do is we're going to start progressively rendering the diff with a new API, so that it's going to make a much better experience and a much more performant experience that allows you to start reviewing and commenting on a merge request as we progressively load it. And last but not least, one of the most common operations we see in Git is really fetching refs, and we're actually going to implement caching for info refs, and this is going to be especially huge for servers that are using network file storage, and really increase the performance of Git on those setups. So that in a nutshell, it's just a taste of what Dev is up to, but there's lots more ahead. That's just the high level and stuff I'm really excited about. So thanks a lot, Scott. Back to you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to Daniel to cover ops.
Thanks, Scott. My name is Daniel Cruz. I'm a product manager on the configure stage. And we'll start with what's going on in the configure stage, but I will cover all of ops today for Kenny. So in the configure stage, we have some exciting additions. I think that we're following on with the theme of supporting operators in GitLab and basically have GitLab be kind of a first-class tool for ops. So in the auto DevOps and Kubernetes group, we're adding more support for operators that are managing infrastructure from GitLab. So getting telemetry of cluster resource use is kind of simple if you're doing it at the project level, since on the environment page, you can kind of see everything that has been deployed, all the pods that are being used for any of your deployments and things like that. So when you get to a group or instance level cluster, getting kind of that global view is more challenging. So we want to make that easy. And in 12.4, we're adding kind of a global view for the instance level cluster, which will allow operators to see all the projects that have deployed to the cluster. And they also are going to be able to see the pod usage for each of those environments that are deployed. So all the information is presented in a centralized way, along with all the other cluster details. So that's kind of the first thing. And then moving on, the next thing that the team will focus on is supporting Kubernetes at enterprise scale. So when teams start using Kubernetes integration that's available in GitLab, they may already have an existing Kubernetes workflow, right? So they may already have namespaces and policies and things like that. So in 12.4, we're adding the ability for these teams to customize the namespace that they want to use for a given environment. So for instance, if you don't want to use the namespace that GitLab is automatically generating for you, you can specify which namespace maps to which environment. That kind of gives you greater flexibility and not disrupt kind of the current processes you're already using in Kubernetes. So that's really great. That's it for the Auto DevOps and Kubernetes group. Moving on to the serverless group. So here we continue to focus on bringing our serverless offering to viable maturity. And one of the areas of focus here is ease of use. So today, when you set up Knative, you kind of have to provide a domain prior to installation. Then once you receive your ingress, you have to map that IP to your DNS and do that mapping. So we want to make that simpler, and we want to make it easier to get started. So we want to provide that domain automatically for you. So this is in a similar fashion that we do for GitLab Pages, where we provide a domain for you, and then you can further customize it if you want to. Then moving on, another area of focus for the serverless group will be providing more in-depth information about invocations and logs. So today we offer you like total invocations for your serverless functions. But if you have a problem or you have some kind of failure, you kind of have to go into your cluster and dig in for that information manually. So we want to make that easy as well. So we want to provision Elasticsearch and Kibana automatically along with Knative. And these tools will allow you to get more precise information about what's going on with those Knative services and those invocations. So at first, we want to kind of provide that stack, and we'll follow up with surfacing some of the information directly in GitLab in future issues. So that's it for the configure stage. Let's move on to monitor, and let's start with the health group. So the health group will continue its focus on incident management, specifically by adding the ability to close GitLab issue or an issue that was created automatically from an incident from a recovery alert tied to Prometheus. So when an incident is resolved, either manually or automatically, Prometheus kind of emits information about this fact, and then that will be used to close those things automatically. So that's kind of a great benefit for an operator who would otherwise, first of all, may not know that something is already fixed and may continue to spend cycles trying to fix it, and will also save time by just closing that automatically. So moving on the health group, they will additionally focus on providing greater telemetry to operators by using Grafana data to render charts directly in GitLab. So operators often share knowledge and information just by copying and pasting graphs into chats, issues, and things like that. So we want to have the ability to natively kind of show this in GitLab. So you can imagine if you have an incident and you have either a static or a live chart, that's really going to help you in troubleshooting and make decisions in real time. So that's really exciting. Okay, so let's move on to the APM group. The APM group will focus on implementing, first of all, a more standard way of exposing Jaeger when it's deployed to Kubernetes. So Jaeger is a great tool for tracing and kind of aids operators in resolving issues. And so the first steps that the team will take here is to solve the authentication piece of that, so that information can be surfaced in GitLab. So that's where the team is starting here. And then the APM group will also work to add source control alerts. So that's really great. So today, users have to do a bit of Prometheus customization or add their own custom alerts in configuration files. So what we want to do is have a way of doing this kind of out of the box. So we could do things like detecting if there's an alert manager config file, and there's like an attached cluster that already has the things that are necessary to do this. And then if there's a deploy, to production, then we could kind of build that in with those deployments. So this is kind of beneficial in a couple of ways, but mainly it prevents alerts kind of being from being changed at will without broader agreement from the group. And it also enables operations teams to kind of use more modern workflows and build that in version control. So that's really great. And that is it for us. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Sam, over to you for secure and defend.
All right. Thanks, Scott. So I'm Sam Kerr, everyone. I'm a principal product manager here at GitLab, filling in for Kenny today for both secure and defend. Really excited to talk to you about what we're planning on delivering in 12.4, because I think it's going to be pretty impactful. Really, the high-level theme that we want to focus on with the secure section is that we want to help you build and maintain your applications in a more secure way. And the way that we're going to be advancing towards that in the coming iteration, we're going to do a couple things. First, you can see at the top two bullets of the list, we're going to be adding SAST support for both Kubernetes manifest as well as React framework applications. And this is really cool because we're starting to see more people, more projects start to use both Kubernetes and React. And as those become more and more commonly used, that means that more vulnerabilities are going to possibly be added to the code base of projects. Being able to have SAST scanning to scan and identify any vulnerabilities that are introduced in those file types is going to be really helpful for making sure that the code you're building is going to market quickly, but also that you're not unintentionally introducing new vulnerabilities. Additionally, we're going to also be working on the license compliance workflow inside of the applications. Specifically, we're going to be adding some capabilities to the merge request functionality so that after you've set license policies where you want to approve or disapprove specific license types, today we currently flag those, but we don't offer enforcement. We're going to offer the ability to be able to identify when disapproved license types have been added with a merge request and immediately trigger an approval workflow. So that a discussion can be made about why a specific license is being used and what the correct next step should be, since it was specifically listed as do not use this license. And so that's the high points of what we're going to be focusing on with the secure section. If we want to scroll down a little bit, we'll talk about what we're going to be focusing on in defend for 12.4 iteration next. So we're going to be doing follow-on work to the web application firewall, or WAF, that we're introducing in 12.3 with defend. And what we're going to be offering in 12.4 is the ability to block traffic that has been identified as potentially malicious with the WAF. And this is a really exciting capability because today the WAF is able to identify and log information and traffic that considers potentially malicious. But that means that you will have to go look at those logs, confirm that something was actually malicious, and remediate it after the fact. With the new blocking mode of the WAF that we're going to be focusing on, though, the WAF itself will say, I identified this as potentially malicious. I'm going to drop the traffic and never even let it hit the application. So if this is the security posture you want to take for your projects, this will prevent any type of attack such as cross-site scripting, SQL injection, or any of the other things that we identify. The application code, which could potentially be vulnerable, it will never even see that traffic because it's all going to be blocked when the WAF identifies it initially. And so I'm really excited to be working on that in 12.4. I think it's going to make a big impact for those teams using the WAF. And Scott, back to you.
Thank you, Sam. And Josh, bring us home.
Thanks, Scott. So I'll be going through the main themes for our enablement section. The first one is we're going to be working on some additional installation methods for GitLab itself. In the past, we've gotten a number of requests for our containers to be based upon a Red Hat base image. With the recent licensing changes to them and also some additional feedback, we're working to get this going now. And so in conjunction with our Helm chart, we'll be working to add a parallel set of Red Hat UB8 images alongside our existing Ubuntu and Alpine-based images today. And so this will allow folks, again, particularly in the public sector, who are looking for Red Hat-based images to now utilize these essentially as drop-in replacements to the existing ones that we have today. We're also making some changes to the GitLab Marketplace, the GitLab offerings on the AWS Marketplace. Today we have two options. We have one where you can purchase GitLab along with this license, which is included out of the box. You get Ultimate. And we also have our Community Edition as well. There's a gap here, though, where for folks who wanted to take advantage of the Marketplace but already had their own license, or potentially might want to upgrade to one later on, there wasn't a good solution. And so we're going to be replacing the Community Edition with a Enterprise Edition build, but it will still function exactly the same as the Community Edition does out of the box. The benefits here, though, are that you can still drop in a license either upfront or after you've been using it for a year or two, and you don't have to go through like an uninstall reinstall activity. And so for folks who want to BYOL or again have an easier upgrade path potentially in the future, this is a great option. We will still maintain the Community CE edition in the Community Marketplace, and so if you want that AMI, they'll still be available for you as well to go forward on that Community Edition. Just won't be the Marketplace itself. Another theme here is working on our ecosystem team. So ecosystem is a brand new team, and they are just getting their first release underway here with 12.4. So that is super exciting, and they're focused on the integrations within GitLab, things like Jira, Slack, and so on, as well as our API and coming SDK. So for this release, they're getting their feet under them with some fixing a couple of the major bugs or more important bugs around Jira. As well as a potentially good one here, which is that if you had an integration which was unreachable, the merge request page could become unresponsive and not function for you. And so we're fixing that one as well in the event that one of these integrations does become unavailable. And so some good features there, and can't wait for the exciting features that the ecosystem will launch in the future as they're just getting started. Last up is we're working to enable key features on GitLab.com. This is super important for us. And we're working on two things here. Number one is Puma. Puma is a multi-threaded application server, which should provide improved performance and reduced memory usage. And so we're getting this on GitLab.com first, so you can prove that it works at the largest scale that we have, GitLab.com. And that way you'll feel comfortable enabling it by default for other customers going forward, so they too can take advantage of the benefits that Puma can bring. The last one is we're also working to enable Geo as well. And this is a new model we're going with, where the Geo team will actually be working to implement this on .com itself in partnership with the infrastructure team. So this is, again, super exciting. So we have a DR site available if we do, in fact, ever need one for .com, but also ensuring Geo can, again, kind of hit that scale that GitLab.com operates at. And so our customers can have the confidence that these features can scale as their instances scale and continue to add some additional users. So super exciting to get those enabled on GitLab.com. And that's it. Scott, back to you.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you to everyone who took the time out of your day to attend or watch the recording. Hopefully you'll agree this release is brimming with customer value. A whole lot of work getting done here. My thanks to the speakers, and to the hundreds of PMs, designers, and engineers behind all of this. Hopefully you'll agree 12.4 is shaping up to be the best release ever. Also, one final note, we do plan ambitiously. So I would not expect 100% of this to get done. We do expect some things to push into future releases, but this is our goal, is to ship this set of value in 12.4. Thank you very much again for attending, and we'll see you next month. Bye.